The city in the clouds is the 15th century citadel of the Inca Empire and stands at an altitude of nearly 8,000 feet. Approximately 200 structures make up the city center. Overlooking the ruins, one can only imagine what the city looked like during the height of the Inca civilization. The skeletal remains of this great city is a testament of the ingenuity of the Inca and was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983. Located northwest of Cusco, these ruins are isolated by sheer mountain cliffs. It sits in the middle between the slopes of the Andes and the upper basin of the Amazon. Like Aguas, Calientes, this sanctuary blends well with its beautiful natural environment. It's still one of the world's greatest mysteries what became of the Incas who inhabited the city amongst the clouds. It's thought that it was abandoned after the Spaniards conquered the Inca Empire in the 16th century. It was not until 1911 when it was rediscovered and shed light of its presence to the entire world. Today, the sanctuary draws about 1.5 million visitors annually. While tourism provides economic benefits, it also results in major cultural and ecological impacts. The strongly increasing number of visitors to the historic sanctuary must be matched by an adequate management that regulates access, diversifying the offer and efforts to fully understand and minimize the impacts. This site is highly protected with many guards patrolling the area. If visitors become unruly or break the rules, they'll be given a warning with a whistle. If repeated attempts to not follow the rules, visitors will be kicked out, fined, and banned from the heritage site. It may also carry some jail time depending on the severity. There are several restricted items you can't bring, such as drones, tripods, and gimbals. You'll be given a list what you can't bring once you've purchased the ticket. On the contrary, essential things to bring are bug repellent, sunscreen, rain poncho, breathable trekking gear, and hiking boots. And of course, a camera. While wandering the sanctuary, I was constantly being bitten by bugs. Fortunately, I met another traveler that was carrying bug spray, which helped a lot. Otherwise, I probably would have cut my trip short because it kept getting worse the longer I stayed in Machu Picchu. Before planning your trip in the ruins, one must purchase a ticket ahead of time. I recommend purchasing a ticket a couple of weeks to a month in advance, as they tend to sell out. If one is planning to visit during peak season, the earlier the better, so you guarantee the spot. They do have reserved tickets one can purchase the day of in person, but it's a bit of a gamble on the availability. For foreigners, it costs $40 to $70 a ticket. You can find more information in the description below. When getting a ticket, you'll have a window of an hour to enter the site. Once you've entered, you can explore on your own pace. I highly recommend getting tickets for the 6 a.m. entrance. You'll have the ruins to yourself for about 2 to 3 hours before a swarm of crowds starts to congest the sanctuary. I recommend doing this with all popular destinations around the world, so you aren't stuck in a tourist trap. It adversely affects your experience when you're shoulder to shoulder stuck in a crowd or queued up in long lines. Go early in the morning before the gates open, or later in the evening when gates are about to close. I've learned this many years ago when I was in Japan, and I've stuck by this rule since. This is another reason why one should stay at least one night in Aguas. Pack and get ready the night before, wake up at 4 to 5 a.m., and either catch a bus or hike to Machu Picchu so you can make it when gates open at 6 a.m. I also recommend getting a tour guide either in Aguas or at the entrance of Machu Picchu so you could learn and understand more about this mysterious city center and not just wander clueless looking at rocks. You'll have to take an hour and a half flight from Lima to Cusco. Flights range from $40 to $100 one way. Once in Cusco, there are a few ways to get to Machu. The route I took is by taxi from Cusco to Ollantaytambo. It cost about 100 soles or $26, and the ride took about an hour and 15 minutes. Alternatively, you can catch a colectivo, which only costs about $3 to $5, and the ride usually takes about 2 hours. You can catch a colectivo at the corner of Calle Pavitos and Avenida Grau, near the historic area of Cusco. Ollantaytambo is a small town. If you have time, I recommend staying for one night to explore this place, though the town can be explored in less than a day. From there, you'll board a train to Aguas Calientes. There are 2 trains to choose from, the Inca and the Peru Rail. I recommend choosing the Peru Rail as it's the more modern rail out of the 2. With the Peru Rail, there are 2 different types of carts, Expedition and Vista Dome. The one I recommend is the Vista Dome. It costs more, but it's more spacious, there's a table, entertainment, and an overhead view, though both carts are comfortable. You'll need to purchase a train ticket ahead of time. Tickets usually sell out weeks, sometimes months in advance. Expedition costs around $60 to $7 US, while the Vista Dome range from $90 to $110 US. It's about an hour-long ride from Oyan to Aguas. Once you're in Aguas, I highly recommend staying at least 1 night, if not 2. If you can't decide whether to stay in Oyan or Aguas, choose Aguas. This town is beautiful and logistically a better decision to stay the night when going to Machu Picchu. From Aguas, you can either hike to Machu Picchu or catch a bus ride the next morning. Regardless of what you choose, I recommend getting an entrance ticket for 6 a.m. the next day. To get to the ruins, visitors will need to purchase a ticket ahead of time, weeks or months in advance, as they tend to sell out. Links to the tickets in the description below. If hiking, give yourself about 2 hours to trek to the ruins. If taking a bus, you'll need to purchase a ticket once you're in Aguas. You aren't able to book in advance, so you'll have to get the ticket there. This mountain town is small and the ticket office is located right across the river from the train station. You can't miss it. Look for this sign. It's about a 15-minute bus ride. Don't lose your ticket if you're booking a round trip. You'll need it to catch a bus back to Aguas. Otherwise, you can hike back down, which some travelers do. They hike to Machu Picchu, then take a bus back down, or vice versa. The most direct route is taking a taxi from Cusco to Poroy train station, right outside of Cusco. It's about an hour away from the city. From the station, you can take a train all the way to Aguas, either through the Inca, Peru, or the more expensive Hiram Bingham Rail. The longest route is trekking the Inca Trail, which ranged from 4 to 7 days depending on where you start. You can find more information in the description below.